Okay, so here we are live once again with another Marvel Legends unboxing, and this is the Black Panther Wakanda Forever Namor from the MCU. Yes, I'm gonna say Namor. I'm not saying Namor. He's the avenging son, not the boy without love. You know, the boy without love sounds like it'd be like an animated Valentine's Day special. Namor is the avenging son. This is he should be a badass character. He shouldn't have to you know I don't know why. I don't mind the fact that they made the character kind of coded Mesoamerican. I don't mind that, like, it's like, kind of a Mexican type of submariner, that he's played by a Mexican act. None of that stuff bothers me. I don't really care about that. I don't mind the fact that they gave him like kind of like native South American gloss to them, kind of like with the Incas and the Aztecs, and that kind of look to the character. In fact, I thought that was kind of interesting. Had no problem with that at all. Uh, but where I draw the line is the character's name. He's Namor. So and they made it so it wasn't even his name. It was just something that, like, the I think the Spanish conquistadors called him. I still haven't seen the movie, so if I'm mistaken about that, somebody correct me, please. But as I understand, that was what they changed it to. But yeah, I didn't mind the look of the character. He looks fine. He still looks like the Submariner to me. He's still a guy with pointy ears and wings on his ankles and gold trunks, or I'm sorry, green trunks, and gold belt, gold wristbands. He still looks like Submariner. So this is the Atuma build a figure wave, and you can see we've already put together part of Atuma. I didn't notice before. I guess I wasn't looking too closely. He's actually got like this kind of transparent breath mask on, which I'm guessing is like an aqua lung for water breathers, so he can breathe water through that thing, I'm guessing. But yeah, Atuma's shaping up to be a pretty interesting looking figure. So let's go ahead. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and add some more parts to him. Oops, that fell down. That's probably the part that has his arm in it. So Submariner comes uh, with Atuma's arm. Here's this is Namor's spear. He comes with a spear, not a trident, a spear. And there are some extra hands. So we've got there's a fist hand, and if I can get this out of the way. Man, I sure do hate these paper envelopes because I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so here's Atuma's arm. We'll go ahead and get that out, and there's another hand in here, and that looks like a gripping hand. So let's have a look at the. Better look at that. Let's have a look at the package, and it looks like, yeah, indeed, Namor is going to come with two kind of swimming hands that look like they're already on the figure, and then a solid fist and a gripping hand. So you're not going to be able to really get a two-handed grip on that spear because he only has one gripping hand. But oh well. So this is Atuma's left arm. So let's go ahead and pop that onto him. I decided to open up Namor before I opened up Everett Ross, because Everett Ross comes with both of Atuma's weapons, and I wanted him to be able to hold both of them as soon as I got the. Man, that is hard to get in there. It is not quite wanting to catch. So you can see that there is a knob, and it's got a little bit of a lip on it, and I'm trying to press the lip in all the way. But what's really causing the problem is that he's got this shoulder armor, and that's kind of bouncing off against the torso as I'm trying to get it in there. I might have to heat this thing up with a hairdryer to really get it in. Man. Okay, I think that's in. I think that's in about as good as it's going to get for now. All right, but there's how Atuma is coming together so far. So it's Black History Month, and that's why I decided to save because I actually got these back before Christmas time. But when I realized that February was just around the corner, I decided to save the Black Panther wave and open those up once it was Black History Month, because I kind of figured that would be a good time to talk about Black Panther. I mean, like, as a character, that would be a good time to talk about Black Panther. And of course, I want to open the whole wave together. And it's not like Black Panther is the only black character in that wave. You know, we also had Okoye, and we also had uh, Nakia. So, but then there are other characters in Black Panther movies that aren't necessarily black, like Namor, who is kind of the antagonist of Wakanda Forever, and Everett Ross, the Tolkien white guy, and whatever the heck the white Black Panther is supposed to be. I still am not familiar with that character. I'll try to research him a little bit before I actually do that. But it looks like there's multiples of that character on the package, so I'm guessing he's technically an army builder. But anyway, I'm just gonna put the package back together. So I've got so many empty packages over here I gotta get rid of anyway. So the less clutter I have, the better. All right, so we got the Submariner out of the package. Namor, the Avenging Sun. Namor, the boy without love. That was a silly thing to do. I'm guessing that's Victoria Alonso's idea, and she got fired, so good riddance. The best thing they could do for Submariner next time he appears in a movie is have him go, "Yes, the Spaniards called me Namor, the boy without love, but to the Atlanteans I will always be Namor, the Avenging Sun." I wouldn't have even cared if they pronounced it Namor. That would have been okay. I would have been fine with that, as long as it was still understood that in the Atlantean tongue it meant Avenging Sun. That's what's important. And I don't even think they're called Atlanteans in the movie. I think they're called something else. Like I said, I haven't seen it yet. But I figure a lot of this stuff was done to kind of separate Namor a little bit more from Aquaman. So that's why they weren't really called Atlanteans. So you can see he's got mostly the classic Submariner costume of, green trunks, gold belt, gold wristbands, and that's what Namor usually wears in the comics. He's got the wings on the feet. He's got the pointy ears. But there are some liberties taken with this version of the character, and some of them have to do with the actor. Like, the actor has a much lower hairline than Subby is usually portrayed as in the comics. Usually he's got like that pretty extreme widow's peak, that thing going on. And like facially, I don't think he looks very much like how Submariner is drawn in the comics either, where he has more that sort of aquiline, that with the high cheekbones and the long thin nose and the kind of pointy chin. This guy just looks kind of like a dude. Like he doesn't really look very much like what I think of Submariner looking like in the comics at all. And it has nothing to do with the fact that he's Latino, by the way. I mean, Submariner is a guy with dark hair, so he could just as easily be like a Latino. In fact, I always thought like what was that guy's the actor that was on Lost? I forget his name. Let me look that up. Lost. Daniel Day Kim. I remembered it anyway. But I'm gonna look it up just to be sure. And of course, my computer's going slow as hell. But Daniel Day Kim was the guy that I always thought would have been a good Submariner, and he's Asian, so it's not like Submariner necessarily needs to be like a white guy. He just needs to look kind of like the guy from the comics. And this guy, like I said, to me, he doesn't really look like the guy in the comics, but he doesn't really not look like the guy in the comics either, if that makes any sense. I'm like, I look at this character and I can recognize it's supposed to be Namor, so I'm okay with it. I got no problem with it. That's what I'm saying. Even though he doesn't, there's not anything particularly about the actor that makes me think that guy would be a good Submariner. But there's nothing that I see about him visually that thinks he wouldn't work either. So here, let's talk about some of the liberties that they did take with the character. First of all, he's got this large golden gorget kind of necklace neckband thing. And I don't mind that so much. I think that looks pretty cool. And then he's got armbands, up around the biceps. Again, don't really mind those. Those seem fine to me. And then you can see there's some golden anklets and straps about the feet. And I figure this was probably mostly done to aid with the visual effects of the wings, so they can more easily strap wings to his ankles, by having straps on there. And, it would probably aid with the animation and whatnot too. I do notice that this piece here is actually a separate piece. So if we pop his head off, if it really bothers you that much to have that necklace on there, you can take that off pretty easily. And the armbands can, as we saw before, these are loose pieces. These could be taken off pretty easily. So you could, if you wanted to, bring Submariner back to a more classic comic book appearance with those changes to it. But there's a few more that I'm going to point out because he's got like these very large green earrings. Now, Submariner sometimes was drawn as having like a hoop earring, I guess to give him more of a pirate sort of look, kind of with that nautical sort of feel in the comics sometimes. But I don't ever think he had large earrings like that. And also, he's got like a fairly, I don't know if I can get it to focus, like a fairly prominent green septum piercing in there, which definitely is not something that Subby had in the comics. So yeah, again, that's again going back to that whole like Mesoamerican, Incan Mayan sort of look. But again, I don't mind that. So I know some people had a problem with it. I don't mind it so much, me personally. So I was okay with it. I kind of felt like it made him a little more unique, and that was cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap out the right hand for the gripping hand, because I'm going to want to put a spear in his hand. And before we move on to that, let's talk a little bit about the articulation. So Namor can look up about that far, which that's good, because if you get him into like a swimming position, you want him to be looking forward, so that's nice. Head rotates all the way around, can kind of tilt his head quizzically a little bit from side to side. He's got this sort of not the standard kind of hinge that we see on male Marvel Legends a lot, but more like that G.I. Joe 25th anniversary joint right underneath the rib cage. And that's good, again, because it can give you some dynamic poses, again, mainly for swimming or flying, because Submariner can fly as well. Arms rotate all the way around and move up about that far. There's no butterfly joint or spacer or anything like that on there. He does a bicep swivel, so the bicep rotates all the way around. He's got double jointed elbows. That's about the range of motion you get at the elbows. The wrists rotate all the way around, and looks like it has a vertical hinge, which is going to be good for posing him with that spear, I think. So you can move it down like that or up like that. It's a little stiff on mine, but I'm sure it'll loosen up with time. And the left hand rotates all the way around, and that one has more of a horizontal hinge to it, so it can move back and forth like that. The other right hand, the more sort of swimming right hand, is exactly the same. And the solid fist also has a horizontal hinge. So all the hands have horizontal hinges except for the right gripping hand, and that one has a vertical hinge. So Submariner can kick up about that far, pretty good range of motion as far as that goes. He does have a thigh cut right where the thigh meets the trunks, so the thigh does rotate all the way around. He's got double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion you get at the knees. Does he have a boot cut? It does not appear to be so, even though it looks like to me that this gold piece is a completely different kind of plastic from the flesh-colored piece above it. So they could have very easily put a boot cut in there, but they chose not to. and he's got ankles that can point down about that far, point up about that far, and the ankles rotate all the way around. Good detail on this figure. A lot of cool sculpted detail. A lot of good painted detail. Like with a lot of these modern type action figures, there even seems to be a little bit of a fabric texture on his trunks. They are not scaled trunks as Namor was often depicted as wearing in the Silver Age, but the Golden Age version of Namor did not have scales on his trunks. So it's still comic book accurate. It's just accurate to a much older comic book than we're used to. And it's not quite the Speedo that you see a lot of artists draw Namor as having just a banana hammock. Like I remember that Jay Lee, when he was drawing Submariner in the '90s, he definitely got kind of banana hammocky with with those trunks. But these are kind of more like boxer brief type swim trunks. These are more like swim trunks like I would wear. I would not be comfortable wearing a banana hammock. I would not look much like a banana in my banana hammock. I would look more like a pear. But but yeah, so let's go ahead and get a look at him with the spear. And here we go. So most of the Atlantean characters in the comics have blue skin, and Submariner does not have blue skin. He has a normal human skin color, which in this case is a nice healthy tan. I kind of feel like even if you had a Caucasian actor playing Submariner, you would still want it to be a guy with a bit of a tan because he spends a lot of time out in the ocean. Anytime he goes on dry land, it's most likely he would wind up on a beach almost immediately. So it makes sense that he would have a more swarthy, ruddy, very bronzed skin tone. So even if it was a Caucasian actor playing Submariner, I would expect him to have about this skin tone. He would be very olive complexioned. I kind of figure naturally. But yeah, in the comics, Namor was like the one human colored person among an entire race of blue people. Like his mother was blue, his grandfather, who was the original king, was blue, his girlfriend was blue, his arch enemies were all blue. Everybody was blue. It was a blue world. So, and in fact, in the very first Submariner comic, uh, he was originally intended to be a blue skinned character, and he did have a hatred for the white man, as he put it. So, really, technically, Submariner is not Caucasian at all. For anybody who was expecting a white guy to be playing him in the movie, not technically. He's at least part blue. So really, like shouldn't Submariner be kind of like have like at least a little bit of a bluish tinge to his skin? Like if I was to have a child with a black woman, he would be darker than me, and probably lighter than her. He'd be like somewhere in between. So maybe he just didn't inherit the blue pigmentation of his mother's people, which is unfortunate for him. But that didn't stop him from being the ruler of Atlantis. So and people didn't seem to have a problem with him being human colored. I don't think he suffered much racism because of his blue skin or lack of blue skin. I mean, so but yeah, he was the son of an American sailor and a princess of Atlantis. So that was his origin. So, and his full name is actually Namor Mackenzie because his father's last name was Mackenzie. I don't think this guy looks much like a Mackenzie though. He maybe like Namor, Montez or something. I don't know. Like, well, what's a good Spanish last name that starts with an M? That would be something. But yeah, it's a pretty cool looking figure. And like I said, if you don't mind it being like somewhat different from the traditional comic book version of the Submariner. I think this is actually a pretty interesting interpretation of the character, and I like it quite a bit. I think it's a nice visual, and of course, if you want a more traditional comic book style Submariner figure, Marvel Legends has you covered. There's lots of different Submariner figures in lots of different costumes. Even the classic Silver Age costume with the scales on the trunks and everything. That's probably my favorite figure of the Submariner. I like that version an awful lot. But anyway, so that's it for our special Black History Month figure that's actually a Latino. I don't know, man. That's just how this assortment worked out. But we'll be back for another Black History Month figure on our next episode with Everett Ross. You know, what do we got left? We got this character, Hatut Zeraze. I'm not familiar with this character at all. But like I said, you can see that there's it looks like there's multiples of him on the back. So I'm guessing he's some kind of army builder. But then, saving the best for last, we're gonna have a proper Black History Month character with a proper black character, and not just any black character, but Marvel's first black superhero and most important black superhero, maybe the most important black superhero of them all in a historical sense. Yes, we've got Black Panther, and as you can see, this is not the MCU Black Panther. This is not the movie Black Panther. This is the classic comic book Black Panther, looking pretty much exactly as Jack Kirby designed him back in the 1960s. Really looking forward to opening this guy up. Man, it is just Fibber McGee over here. I can't keep stuff from falling over. So I had like some of my He-Man figures set up over there. They all got knocked over by this bag. Oh well. Anyway, that's it for Submariner. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure you like and subscribe. All the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Namor, both the character in general and this figure specifically. And what did you think about how they handled the translation of Namor into the live action Namor? Did you have any problems with that? Was that something that that you wish they had hewed a little more closely to the classic comic book design, or maybe you think that it was an interesting version of the character in its own right. Maybe you even think it was an improvement. I'm interested to know what you think in the comments down below. I still haven't seen this movie, and I need to go ahead and get around to seeing it because, like I said, I've always been a fan of this character, and I'd like to see how they translated him into live action. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye.